Now, I don't know about you, but I just find it totally amusing that people who have no faith whatsoever or are actively anti-faith use religious slogans all the time. Do you find that? I do. I go with a running group and they're constantly using religious slogans, yet many of them have no concept of faith, don't want to know faith, and some of them are actually anti-faith. So I find them saying things like this: it's a David and Goliath contest. It's from the Bible. And then what about this one? Here's another one. He or she was crucified in the press. Now, I know there's more than just one crucifixion in history, but they're referring to a biblical concept, crucifixion. Or here's another one. Let there be light. You know, I love that. I seem to have read that somewhere in the Bible as well. When you walk into a darkened place, there's light. Or here's another one. Eat, drink, and be merry. Yep, read that in the Bible as well. But here's my favourite. And I don't know about you, but in Australian sporting and political culture, this is used all the time. And you'll find it done in relation to someone who's making a comeback. Have you seen that? A team making a comeback, an individual making a comeback, someone in politics making a comeback. And all of a sudden you'll find this phrase: he or she, they've done a Lazarus. Have you heard that phrase, or is it just in Australia? In fact, our former Prime Minister wrote a whole book called Lazarus Rising because he went from nothing to being someone, nothing again to being Prime Minister. So I thought, you know what? Let's talk about Lazarus. Let's really examine this wonderful story, which is more than just a nice story of someone who has risen from the dead. Now, I don't know about you, but it's found in John chapter 11, and it's an amazing story. Here, I mean, is there a better story than this? Lazarus, dead for 4 days, buried in a tomb, wrapped in the garments of death, and Jesus raises him from the dead. I've got to tell you, that is some story. Will you help me this morning? That is just some story. And when you look at what happened, it gets even better. Now, we don't know a lot about Lazarus, to be honest. We don't know what his occupation was. We do know that he came somehow to know Lazarus' family, Martha and Mary, and he visited with them on numerous occasions. In fact, he stayed with them and ate with them and seemed to spend heaps of time with them. And we also know that Lazarus was described as being this dear friend of Jesus. There was an intimacy there. And then we find out that Lazarus gets sick. And he gets a message. He sends a message. His family sends a message to Jesus. And despite that, Jesus does not even attempt to hurry back to the bedside of Lazarus for 2 days. Now, I don't know about you, but at this point, I'm getting a bit worried about my theology, to be honest. Jesus finds out his dear friend is sick, and he says, yeah, we'll just relax a bit for 2 days. And then Lazarus passes away and dies. And Jesus arrives not a day later, not 2 days later, but 4 days later after he passes away. This is not just a story of rising a human being from the dead. Friends, can you hear this? This is not just a nice little story. This is a story which demonstrates the resurrection power of God in all situations. I need you to know that. This is a story of the resurrection power of God in all situations. And do you know, throughout the history of the Bible, there's a thread which holds the biblical story together. And do you know what that thread is? Resurrection is the heart of God. Resurrection is the heart of God. That's the thread that runs right through the Bible. That God takes situations, please listen, that are dead and resurrects them. And everyone, as I said, at some point in time in their life is going to need a resurrection experience. Some of you today are in situations where you say, God, there is no hope but you. I need a resurrection experience. And there's going to be times when something in your life is dead and the resurrection power of God is the only hope you've got. Could be a dream. It could be a dream that you've had. And you look at that dream today and you think, I can't even begin to imagine it's going to happen. It's dead. It's got the smell of death about it. Or it could be an aspect of your health. Some part of your body is not functioning and needs life. It could be a relationship. One of the prayer requests today was on that exact issue, a relationship. A relationship that just seems to have, well, gone dead. And it can't be restored except through the resurrection power of God. Or some aspect of your business or your career or your job, it's got that smell of death attached to it. This is not just Lazarus' story, friends. It's not Lazarus' story. It's your story. It's my story. But yet I find that it's more than just a nice story. It's your promise. Do you understand that? The story's great, but a promise is real. The resurrection power of God, right through the Bible, is a promise. And I just wonder this morning, can I just wonder out loud? I wonder if you really believe that. Because sometimes, unless you're in those circumstances, you don't even think about it. I wonder if you really believe that God is this God of resurrection power.